For our examples, we are going to solve a couple of systems of equations by graphing. And so remember that your first step is to take each equation and solve for y. So I will start with x minus 2y equals 0. I'll make that my first equation. And when working with that, I would need to move the x to the other side. So I'll subtract my x on both sides of the equal sign. And that will leave me with negative 2y equals, and then negative x plus 0. I'm going to go ahead and keep that plus 0. Then we have to divide everything by negative 2 to get rid of the y, or excuse me, to get rid of the number in front of the y. And so that will leave me with y equals, now the negative x over negative 2. First of all, it's a negative over a negative. Second of all, that number that you don't see in front of the x is a negative 1. So it's actually negative 1 over negative 2, and that's a positive 1/2. So 1/2 x and then plus 0. 0 divided by anything is 0. So for that first equation, your slope is 1/2, and the y-intercept b is equal to a 0. And I'm going to go ahead and graph equation number 1. So with b starting at 0, that is right at the origin where the x and the y-axis intersect at 0, 0. And the slope being 1/2 means we're going to go up 1 and right 2. And then up 1 and right 2. If you do happen to run out of space, you can always go down and left. You just would have to reverse both of your directions. I would strongly encourage you, if you are doing any of this work on paper, that you would use a straight edge, because you want your lines to be accurately drawn. You'll be doing them on Math Excel as well, and there I think it'll be a lot easier for you to see where they intersect. So there's line number 1, and then we'll do line number 2. I'm going to do some work in this little area. So we have x plus y equals 6. We can get the x moved over by subtracting it. And so that leaves us with y equals, and I always like to put the x first, so negative x plus 6. And so now we can find our slope, which is negative 1. We want to write that as a fraction, so I'm going to put it negative 1 over 1. And our y-intercept b, which is 6. So we want to start this graph. This is equation number 2 on the y-axis at the 6. So there's the 0, 6. And then your slope is negative 1. So moving down 1, right 1. And I, again, would encourage you to continue to make the points until at least you have intersected with the other line. And we have our 2 lines now intersecting. There's equation 2. I'll go back and label equation 1 so that you can see the 2 lines. And now we need to look for the point where these 2 lines intersect. So I'm going to make that a little bit bigger so that we can see it. And this is going to be our solution. Notice that it intersects in just one point. And the x of that ordered pair, 1, 2, 3, 4, our x is a 4. And then our y goes up 2. Our ordered pair is 4, 2. And then I've got a blank for us to fill in on classification. And I want you to know you could have done the classification even before looking at the graph. You have different slopes. One of the slopes is 1/2. The other slope is -1. So even before graphing it, that should tell us, based on our table, that when the slopes are different, then those lines are going to intersect, which means that this is a consistent graph, and because you see that there are two lines, it is independent. So consistent and independent. And there is your first example.